Hello, and in today's video we're going to be looking at 8.2.2 Using Resources. Our single learning objective is to explain the pattern and trends in the use of energy resources. Geysers like these are a sign that hot rocks under the earth could be used for geothermal power. This is an excellent renewable resource if you're in the right location. For many, however, with no convenient renewable resource to hand, we rely on fossil fuels, coal, oil and natural gas to provide our energy. This graph shows how our energy use over the last 200 years has changed. If you look at the bottom of the graph, you'll see biofuels, which has always been an important source of fuel, and although it's increased, it hasn't increased as significantly as some of the others. One of the most common forms of biofuel is wood, which has been used for centuries for cooking. If you look at coal, you'll see that after 1840 there is a sharp rise in the amount of coal used throughout the world. This rise corresponds with the Industrial Revolution, where coal became an important fuel source for transport and factories. From 1920 you'll also see a sharp rise in the use of oil as an energy source. This rise was largely due to the increasing use of cars and planes. I'd now like you to write a paragraph to explain how energy sources have changed over the last 200 years. You can include all the details we've already discussed and feel free to use your textbook to add more information as well. Pause the video now and try and write the paragraph, and then carry on when you're finished. Here are some possible answers that you could have given in your paragraph. Have a look through it, mark your work, and then add any additional information as you see fit. Pause the video again if you need to. In addition to the reasons that we've already discussed, it's worth noting that the world's population increased from 1 billion to 7 billion over this time, and devices such as steam engines and later cars became increasingly prevalent. Finally, large-scale electricity generation became incredibly important. The very first hydroelectric power station was built in 1878, and 4 years later the very first coal-fired power station was built in 1882. Despite their drawbacks, non-renewable resources continue to be the dominant resource we use for large-scale electricity generation. There are three main reasons for this. The first is that there is a good supply of both fossil fuels and nuclear fuels. The second is that they are a cheaper way to produce electricity than renewable resources. And the third and final reason is that they do not depend on weather, tides, or any other external conditions. Despite all their advantages, non-renewable resources are damaging to the environment and will eventually run out. So we must look now for renewable resources to replace them. It is difficult to predict how long our current fossil fuel resources will last. This table shows an estimate for coal, gas and oil if we continue to use them at our current rate and we don't find any additional resources hidden in the Earth's surface, as yet undiscovered. Fossil fuels have other disadvantages. They produce significant amounts of carbon dioxide, which contributes to climate change. They also can produce sulfur dioxide, which leads to acid rain, and coal-fired power stations can produce a significant amount of dust and ash, which needs to be disposed of. I'd now like you to try and list as many different reasons for saving energy as you can. Write them all down and give yourself about 3 minutes. So pause the video now and start timing 3 minutes. Here are 5 possible reasons you might have included in your answer for why we need to conserve our energy resources. Go through your answers, and if there's anything that you've missed, please feel free to add it into your answer now. There are lots of things that you need to consider when deciding on an energy source. The cost, effect on the environment, potential contributions to climate change, and how long the source will last are four of the most important. As one example, a wind farm can produce cheap, renewable energy, but many people consider it ruins the landscape. I'd now like you to suggest a suitable energy source for a town located by several geysers which regularly release hot water and steam from the ground. Pause the video now, think about your answer, and when you're ready, carry on. Hopefully you said geothermal would be a suitable energy resource for that town. Next, there is a town in a mountainous area near a river. What type of energy source should they use? Pause the video if you need to and have a think. This time hydroelectric would be very useful in those high mountains. Now we're looking at a town in a coastal area with a local beach that experiences changes in the sea level every day. They would ideally be looking at tidal power. Our final town is on a hilltop surrounded by plenty of open land. They would be well placed to have a wind farm in their location. Well, that brings us to the end of today's lesson. I hope you found it useful. Thank you and goodbye.